What's up, guys? Now, in this video, I will continue practicing English basically with this uh, with the transcript of this video. Basically, I transcript. If you want to see directly this video instead of see how I practice English, you can come here and check this. This video is about how this man is Turing was capable to help more of 10,000 people uh, that had diabetes. And the thing is that he's healing diabetes with carbohydrates. Really, at the beginning, one joke for me because at the beginning I learned that diabetes, you have diabetes, your problem is the sugar, and you should not consume sugar if you have diabetes. You should must control that. That is true. You should control the sugar blood, but you must understand what is the root cause of your problem. And in this case, in this video, Chris and Cyrus Khambatta uh, are speaking about that the problem is one high amount of fat in the blood. Really interesting. I believe that a ketogenic diet was a good diet, but in this diet maybe don't directly say that ketogenic diet is a bad diet, but directly is accusing, is blaming. Okay, first I needed to check what is word. Oh, yep. They are blaming to the fat, high amount of fat. Uh, I previously to learn it. I after to understand that the sugar is the problem, I learned that another root cause is that your pancreas is not creating enough amount of insulin because you have one autoimmune attack. Normally, the autoimmune attack is because there are things that your body wants to destroy. In this case, can be parasites, bacteria, fungi, maybe high. It is one theory of me. I don't know if really it is so, but maybe I don't know. Okay, I am going to discover that. I want to see if heavy metals, but we will use ChatGPT for it. Okay. Oh, other. It is one really high level, one superficial. I don't know if it will be so. Yeah, heavy metals such as mercury, lead, cadmium, and arsenic have linked have been linked to development of an exacerbation of autism. Okay, but one thing is that ChatGPT enhances a lot. Overall, for superficial information, if you want deep more, you must have more knowledge, more experience. But I'm going to say that heavy metals can cause also autoimmune disease. And I don't believe that the fat can cause. Don't I don't believe the fat cause autoimmune disease, but maybe it creates one environment where it's difficult to leverage the insulin that you have in your blood. And all these things they are speaking about. So I will continue read this interesting transcript of. So I want to here are symptoms like hand concentrate. I okay. Number first, I really feel I am stage 3 or yep, I am here. Things here are my symptoms. I can concentrate. I drink a lot, a bunch of fluids, bunch, bunch of fluids, fluids.
Fluids.
Fluids is different. Problems with the pronouncing bunch of fluids.
Fluids.
Fluids is different. You know, things are a little bit fuzzy, fuzzy,
Fuzzy.
fuzzy, fuzzy. Me, I don't exactly understand what's happening. So she goes, okay, great. Brings me into a room, sits me down, puts me on the bed, on the bed. She basically is like, all right, hold, hold on a second. She takes a finger stick of the glucose, goes in another room, so she into can put it into a glucose monitor and get the results and come back. Was gone for like maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, something like that. Meanwhile, meanwhile, meanwhile,
Meanwhile.
meanwhile, I'm sitting this doctor office are closed and I passed out. I mean it just goes pure black. And so she walks back in the room and I hear the door I hear the door open and I look, I look,
Look.
I look up and I was like, okay, where where I'm in the doctor office. I'm in the doctor's office, okay? How did I get here? How did I get here? Okay, I walk here, okay? Who is this woman? Hey, she's a nurse. She's a nurse. What does she want? What does she want? What is she looking at me with? She looks at me, she goes, how did you get here? And I was like, I walked, and she's like, we need, we need to get you to the hospital right now. And I was like, hmm, alarm bells. What's, what's going? Your blood glucose is in the 600s. I was like, you are speaking Greek to me? I don't know what that means. Whoa, she says, you are in a state called DKA, diabetic, diabetic ketoas, diabetic ketoacidosis, diabetic.
Diabetic.
Diabetic is different. Diabetes, diabetic, of course. Diabetic ketoacidosis,
Ketoacidosis.
ketoacidosis, ketoacidosis. This is a live. threatening state, threatening,
threaten, threatening,
threatening, threatening,
threatening,
threatening. This is a threatening state. We are gonna take you to the hospital right now. And I was like, okay, somebody please explain what the heck is going on in her? What the heck, demon? What the heck is going on her in her, right? They didn't have time. They take me to the hospital. They check me. They check me in for the next 24 hours. I was I was under observation. I put an intravenous of saline into one arm. They put one intravenous of insulin in another, and the oil. The entire time I was there was to try to bring my blood glucose from down from 600, which is 6 times higher. That's supposed to be a break it down so to somewhere around to 2000 to 200 to 200. That would be considered a success. And so they start drip irrigating. Start drip, I don't know. Drip. They start drip irrigating.
irrigating,
Irrigating. Irrigating. Drip irrigating me with tiny amounts of insulin to try to bring my blood glucose down over the course of the time. For the course of time. And rehyd- rehydrating. Rehydrating. Rehydrating.
rehydrating,
Rehydrating is different. Rehydrating. Ooh, strange word. Strange pronunciation. Rehyd- Rehydrating me with saline because what I was actually going to myself was drinking just pure water and then urinating frequently. So I was actually flushing electrolytes from my bloodstream, which was causing me to cramp and and it was making my blood feel very uncomfortable. So they had to rehydrate me with saline, so I get discharged,
discharged,
discharged. So I get discharged. Not let me back up. I'm in the hospital for 24 hours under observation. My family comes, my sister comes, everybody's there to give me support. Love them. Fantastic. Well, well, I'm there. The doctor literally look at me and we are going through your entire,
entire,
your entire medical profile. See everything that's happened up until this point in time. You have developed type 1 diabetes over some. Recently it could be the past 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, but it has been building. It has been building underneath,
underneath,
underneath, underneath, underneath, underneath the superface, underneath the surface, and now you finally are displaying the the symptomology, symptomology, symptomology,
symptomology,
the symptomology. But in addition to that, you also have two other autoimmune conditions. You have Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, you where you where your thyroid gland is not producing a significant amount of thyroid or thyroid hormone. Number two, you have alopecia universalis, universalis,
Universalis.
alopecia universalis, which is basically a super nerd way to saying you are going to lose your hair completely, lose your hair, and and at that point I was already losing some hair. I had like a sort of number one, buzz food on my head, and I had like a little uh, astroturf, astroturf,
AstroTurf.
astroturf. Carpets on my bed,
Carpet.
carpets on my head, but there were blood spots that were appearing, and those spots, turned into complete hair loss over the course of the next few months. So they discharged.
Discharged.
So they discharged. So they discharged. They discharged me from the hospital 24 hours later with three autoimmune conditions: a carbohydrate counting guide, the type of insulin, a blood sugar, a blood glucose meter, syringes,
Syringes.
syringes,
Syringes.
syringes, syringes, and a whole bunch of fear. And they explained to me, they're like, listen, we cannot solve your problem for you. We cannot reverse type 1 diabetes. We cannot reverse hypothyroidism. We cannot reverse alopecia. But what you can do is eat a low carbohydrates diet because that's what you do when you're living with Taiwan. That's how you control your blood glucose. So here's this your carbohydrate counting guide. Why don't use why don't use the zinc, and you don't use keep your and why don't you keep your carbohydrates count, total carbohydrates take to about 100 grams per day? Okay, I want to read it again. And why and why do and, and why you don't keep you why you keep your carbohydrate count, total carbohydrate intake about 100 per day? So I was like, all right, here we go, carbohydrate education, 101. So then I had to deep dive to try to figure out what the heck is this? What are carbs? Where do they come from? Where do they come from? And how do keep it to one 100 grams? How do I inject insulin? When? What time of day? How do I control my blood glucose? My blood glucose. What it is going up? Okay, there's some. What it is going up? Why it is coming down? And it just launched me into a whole universe of giant question marks. And I had very few answers, and I had a whole bunch of questions. So to put a long story short, I ended up doing this non carbohydrate thing for the better part of the year. Doing this low carbohydrate thing for a better part of a year because I'm I can follow instructions. I'm a coachable person. So you tell me that I need to eat low carbohydrate, fine. I'll do it. So I did that, and I was eating things like turkey, tar- turkey burgers, turkey burgers, turkey bar, turkey, turkey burgers, burgers, turkey burgers,
burgers,
burgers, tiger burgers, tiger burgers,
burgers,
tiger burgers, tiger burgers, 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 tiger burgers, tiger burgers, okay, and egg, and fish, and bacon, and cheese. And my dad had gotten me a carbohydrate counter like a cookbook teaching me, the very friendly recipes. And my mom was going grocery shopping with me, and she was helping me find ways to become more, carbohydrate friendly. And God bless, and God bless, and because without them, I don't know where I would be. And as I was going through this process, I was like, why do you feel worse? Like I feel pretty, pretty,
pretty,
pretty, pretty, pretty crappy,
crappy,
crappy. What crappy? If A is here alone, happy, crappy, crappy. Okay. Why I feel pretty. Okay, but see it is I feel pretty crappy when I first got diagnosed. When I first got diagnosed at 6 months down to the road, 9 months down the road, I was even lower energy and my body was hurting. My body was hurting. My muscles were so tight. My joints were cramping. I was like, the feeling when you go and the feeling when you go and you do an intense workout and 10 next morning you wake up, you are sore, right? That sort of like feeling of tiredness, that sort of that sort of like feeling tiredness,
tightness,
tiredness. Imagine that that's under the surface all day long, every single day, in muscles that you haven't used in a while,
while,
while, used in a while, used in a while. It just didn't, it just didn't make any sense. So my lifestyle, was leading me down a path of, you know, muscular,
muscular,
muscular is different. Muscular pain, your own tension, frustration, anxiety, and that to go to a therapist just was like my life was spinning. My life was spinning out of control. Spinning. Okay, need to check what it. Okay, really strange means this. don't match if I don't match the means of these words if I in all the in the context of the sentence. Matter. So I switched over to eating a plant-based diet, not because I wanted to, not because I was looking for plant-based solution, but because somebody had introduced me to a guy named Dr. Doug Graham or Doug Graham. Graham.
Gram.
Graham is different. Dr. Doug Graham. Graham. Dr. Doug Graham teach people how to eat at a 80, 80, 10, and raw food diet, and I did know anything about it. Uh, and it was like, all right, whatever doing, whatever doubt, whatever doubt, whatever doubt, just tell me, can you fix me? Can you make me better? He said, yep, 100%. So he out me out, out,
Taught.
hard. So he taught, taught, so she taught me how to eat whole, whole, whole,
Whole.
wire, whole, base, while whole is it seems the word, it seems the words. Eat a whole plant, whole food plant-based diet that was predominant around kinds of like what Robbie eats. Just lot of fruit, lot of fruit, lot of fruit, lot of fruit, fruit, lot of fruit, and lots of fruit and lots of vegetables. And within a very short period of time, I'm taking 24 to 48 hours eating away. My glucose became ridiculously manageable,
Manageable.
manageable, manageable, ridiculously manageable. I'm thinking about a high blood glucose that would hang out of the 180 to 200 range all day long, every single day, all the sudden,
Sudden.
all the sudden, all the sudden, all of a sudden, boom, flat line comes down to 16, 17, 18, and I was just having to like eat more food in order to keep my blood glu- blood glucose from going to my blood glucose from going too low. From going too low, I just having to like eat more food in order to keep my blood glucose from going too low. Too low. That means I had to inject lots less insulin, or I would back off. So I would back off and less and less and less and less and less, and then all the
Sudden.
all the sudden, I woke up. A week down the road, I was like, "Oh crap! What I, what I, what am I doing? What am, what am I doing? What am I doing with all this energy? This feels incredible. and I was, I was sleeping better. I was anxiety went away, and all a student I was like, Jesus, this is incredible. It literally feel like I talk,
took,
I talk a wall charger in stuck into a outlet, outlet, to an outlet, and all of us of a sudden I was like, whoa, I just got charged up. This is great. Get one page more. So long story short, I ended up going back to graduate school, and I was so excited about this whole whole process. I was like, what can I do to arm myself with knowledge? Arm myself with knowledge because up until this point it was just an experiment. It was just me trying to figure out how to make this work. But I was hungry for science because that that's the way my brain works. So I studied.
studied,
Studied is different. So I studied. So I studied and studied and studied and I rolled
enrolled,
enrolled. I enrolled in a whole bunch of prerequisite coursework. I started taking biochemistry at molecular biology at and molecular biology. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, you know what was like, you know what? I want I want to do a PhD. So I did a PhD for 5 years in the UC Berkeley. Berkeley. I was in a laboratory of a guy who was a carbohydrate metabolism world expert. Name or Mark Hellerstein. And that man taught me everything I know about carbohydrate metabolism. I walked out of that experiment 5 years down the road and I was like, oh wow, stuff that I have experienced in my body is absolutely real. This is by switching over the plants. This is by switching over the plant-based diet was lowering my blood glucose despite
despite,
blood glucose despite the fact that my carbohydrate intake was going the rough by the fact that I went from eating 10 grams of carbohydrates to seven 100 grams of carbohydrates to 700 grams of carbohydrate per day. You know, my intake was increasing, but yet my insulin was my insulin use was down and my glucose was down, and I had more energy and more hydrogen and beyond and beyond
beyond,
beyond. It was like, well, there's plenty of science to describe all of all of those psychological changes. All those There are plenty of science to describe all those psychological changes. But here's the quicker here's the quicker
kicker,
kicker not quicker kicker here's the kicker. What means kicker? Here's the kicker. It's not just me. This is this is not just one end, one story. It's not Just some freak incident that happened to Cyrus. This happened to other people, whether you're living with type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, type 1 diabetes, whether you have no diabetes, whether you are normal individual, whether you are an athlete, you name it. This is a human phenomenon. Phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
This is one human phenomenon. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So then I joined force with Robbie. We okay. I this part don't mention with Robbie. On forces with Robbie, and we basically decided that we wanted to teach people living with all forms of diabetes how they can implement the same plant-based diets, plant-based approach, and get tremendous results by really reversing the underlying disease process called insulin resistance,
Resistance.
insulin resistance is different. Resistance, resistance. Here we are, here we are today, amazing 7 years down the road,
Road.
road. And you, I love your story. It's amazing. Also kind of wild, also kind of wild,
Wild.
wild. Also kind of wild to be diagnosed in the college because usually Taiwan does doesn't is usually happen more often young young children rather that and maybe wrong here rather that in adults adults young adults
Adults.
adults different adults young adults or even if you know middle aged middle aged absolutely. Yeah, Taiwan is usually diagnosed very close birth. Could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 8 years, or maybe even in adolescents, 12, 12, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14. But that's when it's only diagnosed. But what we're seeing, there was a research paper that I had read a couple couple couple
Couple.
couple read a couple of years ago that said that over the past 10 years the incidence of type 1 diabetes has increased uh, by 23%. Okay, I believe that I read enough for now. I'm reading almost 38 minutes. Awesome.